All right, welcome. Today we are diving into something truly fascinating, an idea that tries to build a bridge between ancient spiritual texts and cutting-edge astrophysics. It's a wild ride, so let's get into it. So let's just start with this question right here. Could a collection of ancient poems, literally thousands of years old, actually describe the physics happening inside a star? I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, but it's the core idea of a modern commentary we're going to unpack today. Now, let's be super clear about what we're doing here. We're not saying that ancient sages had telescopes and particle accelerators. What we're looking at is a specific, modern interpretation that maps the poetic language of the Vedas onto the science of stellar fusion. You should think of it as a really compelling thought experiment, one that connects two worlds that you'd never expect to meet. Okay, let's dive into our first section, Ancient Hymns, Modern Stars. And that brings us to the core concept of this whole thing, what the text calls the two fires within. This is really the foundation of the entire interpretation, this idea of a dual energy source deep inside a star. So here is the central parallel. In modern astrophysics, a star has this pre-existing thermal energy that comes from gravity just squeezing everything together. And then it kicks off nuclear fusion, creating this brand new, much more powerful energy. Well, this commentary argues that the hymns describe this exact same duality. They talk about a pre-existing fire called Jataveda Agni, and then a new, sharper, way more intense fire, which they call fusion Agni. And to really follow along, we need to understand this key term, Agni. Now, literally, it just means fire. But in this interpretation, its meaning is expanded to represent energy itself. The fundamental force that's really doing all the work inside a star. And these two types of Agni, these two energies, they don't just hang out. They have very different jobs. According to this text, the pre-existing one, Jataveda Agni, is stuck right in the star's central core. But the new one, fusion Agni, is way more dynamic. It spreads throughout the entire star and is what eventually radiates out into space as starlight. All right, so if you've got these two incredibly powerful energies churning away inside a star, what stops it from just, blowing itself apart? Well, the interpretation says there's a whole system of cosmic regulation, which it calls the symphony of cosmic rays. And this is another one of those huge conceptual leaps. The word chandas literally refers to the rhythm and meter of the Vedic poems themselves, like the structure of the poetry. But in this astrophysical framework, they're completely reimagined as cosmic rays, or maybe even fundamental forces that basically impose order on the raw, chaotic energy of a star. And this cosmic regulation isn't just a vague idea. It's laid out as a very specific three-step process. First, the new intense fusion Agni is born. Then, these forces called Trishtubh rays step in to mediate, to balance the new energy with the old. And finally, another set of forces, the Gayatri rays, guide that now balanced energy on its path outward from the core. It's described almost like a cosmic dance, a really structured sequence of events. Okay, so if you thought that was a bit of a stretch, you might want to buckle up for this next part. Because now, the interpretation goes way beyond the known science of our own sun and wades into some of the most exotic, speculative corners of modern astrophysics. Seriously, we're talking about a type of fusion that just doesn't happen in a normal star like ours. The commentary is claiming that these ancient hymns are actually hinting at processes that involve matter far, far stranger than the simple hydrogen and helium we're used to. So the source text makes this pretty radical claim. It says the hymns don't just talk about the fusion of protons, which is standard stuff, but also about the fusion of abrahmanas, a term they interpret to mean uncharged particles. So let's think about that for a second. Fusion without an electrical charge. What's a fundamental particle in the nucleus of an atom that has no charge? A neutron, right? So the commentary asks this question directly. Is it possible that these ancient texts were actually alluding to the fusion of neutrons themselves? And this is where it gets really wild, because the commentary connects this idea to the absolute cutting edge of theory. It suggests that this concept of neutron fusion could be happening in extreme objects like neutron stars, which are basically giant atomic nuclei the size of a city. It even links it to mechos, a theoretical alternative to black holes, where the physics are so insane that these kinds of exotic processes might actually be possible. So, with all these incredible pieces, the two fires, the cosmic rays, even neutron fusion, what's the grand framework that holds it all together? Well, that would be the Great Cosmic Ritual. Okay, so the word yajna is absolutely central to Vedic thinking. Normally, it means a ritual or a sacrifice performed by people. But in this interpretation, it's scaled up to the level of the entire universe. The yajna isn't a ceremony people perform, it is the cosmos, a continuous, self-sustaining, perfectly structured process of creation. And the life and death of a star? That's just one small part of this cosmic yajna.
At the very foundation of this whole cosmic process, the commentary says there are 13 fundamental him waves, or forces.
But those 13 waves are then organized and stabilized into a bigger 17-part structure, which is called the Prajapati, or the creator entity. So you're probably asking, wait, how do you get from 13 to 17? Well, the way the text explains it is actually pretty clever. The very first wave and the very last wave of the 13 are each repeated 3 times. You can almost think of it like tying a strong knot at both ends of a rope. That repetition creates this stable, bound, 17-part structure that gives the whole cosmic ritual its strength and integrity, keeping it all from just flying apart. Which, of course, leaves us right back where we started, with this huge question. Is this a genuine glimpse into some kind of forgotten ancient science? Or is it a brilliant, creative, modern exercise in finding patterns where maybe there are none? Whatever you decide, this interpretation gives us this incredible vision of the universe as a grand, ordered performance, one that's following a script that was written into the very fabric of reality itself. So, what do you think?